live. Hello, I'm back, everybody. Chuck Holton here, and I'm in Jerusalem, and I'm at the YMCA Three Arches Hotel. And isn't this beautiful? I was sitting here while I was waiting for the live to start, and I was looking around at the incredible architecture, and I just want to show you this, because before I get to what I want to talk about, you deserve to see this. This is amazing. Look at the architecture here. That's a cat. Isn't that gorgeous? And there's this enormous tower here. I don't know if I can show you that, but I'll try. It goes way, way, way up there. It was designed and built by the same guy who built the Empire State Building. And I wanted to show you this over here, because this is pretty interesting. You know, there's a lot of beautiful buildings and a lot of old buildings in Israel. And one of the things that you notice when you walk around here is that there are evidence, there is evidence of the many wars that have been fought over this area. Now, this building has only been here since like 1910 or 1901, something like that, early part of the 20th century. So it hasn't gone through near as many wars as a lot of the places in Jerusalem. But if you look right over here, I just was noticing these are bullet holes right here in this column. These bullet holes go all the way up. There's, you know, some shrapnel in some of these. You can see shrapnel where it chipped things out of the limestone and marred this otherwise beautiful architecture. It's pretty amazing. But anyway, it's just a very nice place, and it's a perfect night out here. And so I wanted to talk to you about the joint logistics over the shore pier system that the Biden administration decided would be a good idea for them to install here in Israel, I'm sorry, in Gaza. And they've got it up and running, and no, it didn't sink. So if you heard that the JLOTS system sank, you've been misled. What part of Jerusalem is this? This is right in downtown. The old city of Jerusalem is about a quarter mile that direction, right across the street, right there. You see the corner of the King David Hotel. That was the hotel that figured very prominently in all the spy novels that I read as a kid. So it's cool to go over there. It's a very, very, very nice, very expensive hotel. And if you ever get a chance to come to Israel, this YMCA hotel is it's a really real find. Of course, there's nothing that's cheap in Jerusalem, but this is about half the price of the King David across the street. And it's a 100-year-old hotel, so the rooms are a little smaller than what you might be used to, but it's comfortable, it's quiet, and it has the best gym, I think, of any hotel that I've ever been in my entire life. So I highly recommend it for the gym, if for no other reason. And that's the reason I like to stay here. So anyway, let's talk about this JLOT system. Now, 2 months ago, the Biden administration announced that they were going to put a temporary pier onto Gaza in order to bring humanitarian aid onto the shore. Now, for what they have spent so far on this temporary pier, they could have put in 3 permanent piers, and it would have been cheaper. So I broke down those numbers a little bit on the live I did for CBN yesterday from Cyprus. So I was in the island of Cyprus yesterday, flew into Jerusalem this morning, and there goes another, oh, it's the same guy. It's the same ambulance. He just goes back and forth, back and forth. It's a boondoggle. Yes, it is. So when I was in Cyprus, you could see the cargo ships that they're bringing into Cyprus and then taking the aid from there to that pier in Gaza and dropping it off. Now, whether or not it's actually getting distributed is another question, or how it's getting distributed, but they are doing it. And it's, well, let's just break it down. So, took 2 months to get it up and running. So far, they have managed to ship in about 100 and, did they say 150 tons? I'm gonna have to check that number. I think it's 150 tons of aid have traversed across that that JLOT system. Well, here's the thing. You can get almost 15 tons on one truck. So even if it was only 10 tons, that's still only 15 trucks that have gone in so far. As I mentioned yesterday, in Cyprus, they have so there's 11 ships that are a part of the armada that is working on this JLOT system. 11 U.S. Navy vessels and some smaller vessels and boats and things like that, but 11 major ships. The one that I saw yesterday in Cyprus was called the USS Frank W. Stockton. And the Stockton is a very large roll-on, roll-off, medium-speed freighter. It's a cargo ship. It actually used to just be a legit regular cargo ship. In 1997, the Navy bought it. Hi, Carolyn B. Good to see you. In 1997, the Navy bought it and converted it into a military cargo ship. I don't know what that entails other than painting it gray, perhaps. But they put this, so I saw this ship over there. This ship can carry a lot, and I mean a lot of cargo. It's a very large boat. I put some pictures and video of it up on chuckholton.com. You can go take a look if you want to see. But that's a big cargo ship. And I figured out just by doing some calculations based on its published cargo capacity that if you filled that ship with just MREs as supplies, as food, meals ready to eat, those MREs, it would hold about 16 million meals on that one ship. Now, they may have put rice, beans, wheat, something else on the ship, in which case it could be a lot more meals, and it might not be as expensive. But just for the sake of argument, because we know what the prices are of these things, we know that the military pays about $9 a piece for the MRE meals. So $9 a piece times 16 million meals, that shipload of MREs costs the U.S. taxpayer about $144 million. We know that the Biden administration, they claim to have spent $330 million putting the dock in place. And we figured out that they're spending upwards of $15 million a day to keep it there. Well, I saw a report this afternoon that says that as of this morning, the Biden administration has now spent on this JLOT's boondoggle a grand total of $1.486 billion. Isn't that exciting? $1.486 billion. And of course, there are probably better things we could have done with that money. The best thing we could have done with that money would have been just to return it to the taxpayers, because taxpayers are definitely going to spend their money in smarter ways than the U.S. government does. But it is pretty sickening, isn't it? $1.486 billion so far on that whole mission. Now, what happened to the dock? Did it sink? No, it did not sink. It's actually still in operations. There was a high sea state, I guess they call it like a Category 3 sea state the other day, very high winds out there. And there were some portions of the pier that broke loose, got away, and floated off, and thank God came ashore in Israel. I say thank God because it's thank God they didn't come ashore in Gaza. We might never get them back. It would have been a lot harder to extract them from Gaza. They probably would have just abandoned them in that case, because you can't get a beached boat off the shore without putting any sailors on the shore to do it. We would have had to have boots on the ground, which the Biden administration has already said they're not going to do. So by some incredible stroke of luck, those pieces of the dock that broke off, and when I say pieces, they are the size, they're the size of this terrace that I'm on here. So turn that around. This entire terrace, imagine this being a big floating piece of metal, big floating dock portion. And it broke loose, floated over across the border into Israel, and beached itself between Ashkelon and Ashdod. I'm going to go down there tomorrow and take a look, because it's very unlikely that they'll have them unbeached by tomorrow or ever. I mean, it might be very difficult. And as it turns out, here's why. Back during the Obama administration, Barack Obama decided he had a great way to save money in the budget. He would just eviscerate the U.S. military, and especially the U.S. Navy. That program saw the mothballing of a tremendous number of our ships, cutting back on budgets for maintenance and things like that. You understand that in order to have a functional expeditionary Navy, there's fighter jets going overhead. Can you hear that? Can't see anything, but they're obviously continuously striking Hezbollah in the north, and over in Iraq they had some strikes today, so there's been a lot of jets flying around. But so, well, if you can't hear it, then good, my microphone is actually working for once. In order to have an expeditionary Navy, that's a Navy that can project power anywhere in the world, it takes more than, hey, thank you for the 9 pounds, PC. Awesome. I appreciate that. You need to have more than just battleships and aircraft carriers. There's a whole bunch of ships. I mean, thousands of ships that are needed to keep our battleships and aircraft carriers and submarines afloat. You need maintenance ships, you need support ships, you need, I mean, just there's all kinds of stuff. More than I mean, I have no idea even how many there need to be, but the more I learn, the more astounded I am, because I'd never heard of many of these things. Like the fact that we had actual legit cargo, you know, like cargo ships in our inventory as Navy vessels. I didn't know that. That was new on me. But so they've got to have these literal ships, literal, not, I should spell that, L-I-T-T-O-R-A-L, literal, yeah, O-R-A-L, not L-I-T-E-R-A-L, not that kind of literal, as in actual. I mean, yes, there you go, literal. Thank you for spelling it for me, Peter. You've got to have these support ships and all these other ships. Well, one of the ships that they got rid of was, we had an entire emergency package that included one of these over-the-shore dock things that they're using in Gaza, stationed in the Mediterranean. An entire package of ships that was just ready to go in case there was an emergency anywhere in that part of the world. And the Obama administration got rid of it and sold them off, scrapped them, whatever. One of the ships in that package would have been a salvage tug. Tugboats, as you know, are small boats with very, very, very big engines. Very, very powerful boats, but they're tiny as ships go. And as it turns out, in order to have one of these JLOTS systems successfully docked to a shore somewhere, and especially if that shore is in a non-permissive environment, you have got to have a salvage tug there, because according to one of the guys I saw who used to do this for a living, he said when you put one of these floating piers in place, it's not a matter of if a boat runs aground, it's a matter of when. And when one of those boats runs aground, you are going to have to put people on the ground to get it off, and you're going to have a salvage tug to pull it off. But we don't have any salvage tugs in the area anymore. We didn't have anything in the area. They had to bring all of this stuff over from Virginia Beach, which is a very long trip if you haven't looked at a map lately, and very expensive. So by selling off or getting rid of most of the salvage tugs in the U.S. Navy inventory, apparently there are only 3 of them now. There's one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast, and I think one's in like dry dock or maintenance or something. But it's not in the area. They could have rented one, but either nobody thought to do that or they just didn't think they'd need it. This was, after all, kind of a hurried thing. And as a matter of fact, the guy I was listening to today was talking about all of the other things that the U.S. Navy could have done to accomplish the mission of getting aid onto shore in Gaza that would have been faster, easier, cheaper, and safer. We have a lot of other systems that could have brought aid into Gaza. The problem is that all of those systems would have required at least one boot on the ground. You know, somebody from the U.S. military would have had to make contact with the shore in Gaza. And so the Biden administration ruled those out. So I think what that tells us is that if it was about getting aid to the people in Gaza, we would have used a different method. But it's not about getting aid to the people in Gaza. It's about making it look like we're getting aid to the people in Gaza and doing it in the most spectacular, if inefficient way possible. Spectacular in that it's camera worthy. There's a big long dock now stuck into the, it's not just, we've got literal ships that you could drive right up on shore, drop the gangplank, and drive trucks off full of aid. We have ships that can do that. We have systems that can, you know, we can take those dock sections and just fill them full of containers full of aid and drive them up on shore and then unload them and then drive them off again and go reload them. We could have done that. But again, the guy driving it would have been a U.S. Navy soldier. Or they say a soldier. Sorry, if you were in the Navy, you can punch me. Sailor, U.S. Navy sailor. Question: what U.S. authority is given to this floating pier? What if it's standing? I got to get my glasses out. As part of the, okay. What U.S. authority is given to this floating pier? What's its standing as part of the United States? It's a thing. It's not considered to be sovereign U.S. territory or anything like that, if that's what you mean. It is a military equipment, and in that way, it's essentially expendable. If they lose the whole thing, I mean, we left behind $86 billion worth of military hardware in Afghanistan, just left it trucks, helicopters, all armored vehicles, weapons, night vision goggles, everything. So who cares if we just give away a $300 million dock? And I would venture to say it's not unlikely that we end up leaving that dock there, and just it'll end up rusting away to nothing. I have a feeling that it will not be recovered in any meaningful way, or it will be scrapped and it'll just sink. I mean, these things are meant to be reusable, but the military is not really that good at reusing stuff. We're pretty good at wrecking stuff and leaving it alone. So Raynette just asked, where am I? I'm at the YMCA Hotel, Three Arches Hotel in downtown Jerusalem, just about half a mile from the old city of Jerusalem. And they left a lot more than a base in Afghanistan. This JLOTS system not only is the most inefficient thing that could have been thought up to bring aid into Gaza, other than the thing we were doing right before that, which is airdropping it in, bombing the Gazans with containers full of food. That was a great idea. That's like 100 times more expensive per ton of aid than the dock is. And the dock is like 10 times more expensive than just bringing it in through the ports of entry, which there are several of those open now. And they are getting about 500 trucks a day into Gaza over the land without the trucks that are going in by sea. So they don't need that dock. There's no need for it. They are getting enough aid to the people of Gaza to keep them alive. Nobody should be going hungry in Gaza. If they are, it's because Hamas is not allowing the distribution of the aid, because they want the people to go hungry, okay? Now, there was also, it's not being widely reported in the news, but there were 3 injuries during this mission just a few days ago. 3 U.S. Navy sailors were injured in a forklift accident, I guess. So I'm told that only one of them needed to be hospitalized. The other 2 were treated and went back to work. But one of them is actually here in Israel being hospitalized. And what else is in Israel now are the parts of this dock that fell off and floated into Israel. So you have the piece of the dock that floated away, and then they sent a landing craft, because they don't have a tugboat. They should, but they don't have a tugboat, so they sent a landing craft, like one of those old World War II ones with the drop-down ramp on the front that you see in Saving Private Ryan, like a little bit larger version of a Higgins boat. And they sent that over there, and it went in to try to pull that piece off the shore. In the process, he did not drop a anchor in the rear, and so the Higgins boat, or the landing craft, went sideways and crashed into the shore and got beached itself. So now there's a U.S. Navy landing craft and a piece of the pier that's beached, and they don't have any way to get it off. Last thing I saw, they had a rope, and they had a small drone, and they were trying to carry this rope with the drone out to a small ship that they brought in as close as they could get it to the shore, but it was still like a half mile offshore. And they were trying to take a rope all the way out there and use the rope to pull a chain out or something. That'd have to be a really long chain. Can you imagine a half mile of chain? And then have that ship try to pull the pieces off the shore. But the guy that was talking about it was saying that even that small ship doesn't have enough power to do the job. And so it's unlikely that it will be able to pull that thing off. And you know how the ocean works, right? It keeps pushing things further and further up the shore. So the longer they wait, no, a 53 wouldn't lift it. A 53 can lift a lot, but it's not going to lift that. So the longer they wait, the more beached these things become. Now they did bring a big excavator down to the beach, and they started digging around it and put up a berm trying to stop the waves from pushing on it so much so that wouldn't happen quite so much. But suffice it to say, that thing is pretty darn stuck, and it may be a long time before they get it unstuck. And the problem for that is that it is a glaring reminder that's on the TV cameras, very easy for journalists to go look at. It's a glaring reminder of the ineptitude of the Biden administration's policy here in Israel and in Gaza. And so we should make a big poster. If I was Donald Trump, I would make a big, giant billboard of a picture of these beached U.S. Navy boats and just put it up all over America with the words "never again." I mean, that's kind of a play on words, you know, because the Israelis are always saying "never again" about the Holocaust. And so I would just say "never again" for the Botocost. Is it just me, or does this year feel like it's in slow motion? It's already June almost, so that's pretty. Things seems to me like it's going pretty fast. Maybe you just need to get out more, get away from those kids. When I was in the Marines, I was part of the 2nd Landing Support Battalion. We specialized in offloading vehicles and equipment from amphibious ships and used helicopters to transport pallets. Yeah, I've seen that done. When I was on, was it the USS Guadalcanal during the, I was on the Guadalcanal one time, but anyway, when I was on a ship during the Haiti earthquake response, I watched them do a resupply at sea with helicopters. That's amazing. You watch these guys, they're so good, and they're in a Black Hawk, and they're like going over to this boat and picking up a pallet of goods, and then just lifting off, flying 100 yards over, dropping it, fly right back, and they just go woo, woo, woo. And man, you talk about dangerous. So 3 million would have sustained my entire community for years and years and would eliminate the homeless problem. Well, Rick, I don't know that the homeless problem is going to be eliminated by throwing money at it, but I get your point. I believe the AC Mahdi will come from the Muslim faith. Okay. It's like every day something new. Yes, that's for sure. I find myself waking up sometimes and looking out the window and saying, what chapter of Revelation are we in today? Because it's just like another massive, tragedy happening every day, it looks like. Okay, I'm just looking back through here to see if there's any questions. Roger Smith was talking about a 53 lifting those things. That's not a bad idea if we had any over here. I don't know if a 53 would lift. The CH-53 is, I think, the most powerful helicopter in the Army inventory today. It's an 8-bladed helicopter that is extremely, extremely powerful and can lift a lot. So it can lift a tank. So maybe it could lift that boat, but I'm not sure we have any of them here. I don't know what it would take to get any of them here, but anyway, we'll see. I think I saw a question go by. Never again get the boat stuck. No, I thought I saw a question, but Canadian destroyer. Hey, Chuck, question. How many hostages do you think are still alive There has to be reason beyond not giving back hostages. My guess is they either don't know where they're at or they don't know if they're still alive. Yes, I think there are some still alive. I think many of them are dead. And that's likely to increase before this is over. I think some are still alive. If we knew where they were, they would go get them. But they don't know exactly where they are, and they are all around Yahya Sinwar for sure. And so in the process of accomplishing their goal of wiping out Hamas, they may also, in fact, be wiping out the rest of the hostages. It's just a really bad situation, but that's what war is. Is the pier not going to be used to facilitate the transportation of Palestinians to America? They say that somebody asked that in a press conference the other day, and John Kirby said it is only for taking aid to Gazans. So, according to him, it's not going to be used to bring Palestinians to America. A lot of people have said that's been a rumor going around. Right now, that's just a rumor. There's no proof that they intend to do that. Wouldn't surprise me, but there's no proof. Did you hear that Putin is ready to stop with Ukraine? I did hear that, but his conditions are kind of, that's kind of like saying, yeah, I'm willing to stop doing what I'm doing if you give me $1 billion and a Maserati and a private jet. I mean, his conditions are not really acceptable to Ukraine. But we'll see what happens. Will I get to interview Amir? I keep reaching out to him, and he hasn't agreed to an interview yet. I mean, I talk to him once in a while on WhatsApp and stuff, but it just hasn't worked out. Maybe it'll work out this trip. Do we know how many Americans were taken hostage? Were more, Christopher, but now I think it's half a dozen, something like that. How can I donate? I have just $1. Rich, you can donate by going to the super chat, which is those 3 dots down at the bottom, like send a thanks, something like that. Or go buy yourself a coffee. What about an update with Daron or Chaim? Yeah, well, I do talk to Daron on a semi-regular basis. He has invited me to come out with his unit in Gaza. I just have to get permission from the public affairs people, and that's the hard part. But if I could get them to give me permission, I'd be down there with Daron in Gaza tomorrow. But I kind of am not holding out a lot of hope for that. We'll see. Okay, some historians say the original people were in Palestine, blah, blah, blah. I love it when people write like half a comment that's not even a complete sentence and then just hit send. It's just like, oh, okay, I don't know what. Yeah, Roger was suggesting the 53 could drag it free. It certainly wouldn't hurt if they were able to hook that ship that's offshore and a 53 to it, get the 53 to lift and get the ship to pull. Maybe they could get it off there, but obviously you got a bunch of people out there that are much smarter than you and me about how to get this done, and they haven't figured out a way to do it with the resources that they have at hand. So what that tells me is not that we don't have the expertise to get the ship or get the stuff pulled off the shore, it's that we don't have the equipment, we don't have the resources necessary to do it. So there you go. All right, so just to update you, I was asking if something got into and stayed in Egypt. I talked about going to Egypt, but they're not letting anybody get close to the border. And so it wouldn't really help a lot if I went to Egypt. I actually thought about that. The same thing, Cyprus turned out to be kind of a bust because I could see the ship out there. I could see the cargo ships offshore. That's about it. It just, I don't know. Get a floating crane from Cyprus. Yeah, well, that's just it. I mean, they probably have a tugboat over there too. So we could probably rent a tugboat. At this point, by the time they get around to figuring out that they're going to rent a tugboat, the whole thing might have fallen apart, or the beached pieces might be so far up on the beach that even a tugboat can't pull them off. So, yeah, I don't know. Underground charges will do it. Yeah, yeah. Well, you could blow the boat up, but they kind of want to be able to use it again. A floating crane from Cyprus isn't a bad idea. The VA send material equipment to a veteran in need of their home. The VA will not take it back. They throw it away. Yeah, somebody's a little behind on the thing. I'm not sure who Yuck Yuck is. Maybe somebody's trying to say, Will's trying to say Yahya Sinwar, but whatever. High tide and drag. Yeah, well, that's what they've been doing, and it's not working because they don't have anything that will drag hard enough, unfortunately. All right, folks, go hit the like button for me if you don't mind, and go check out the video I just put up on chuckholton.com about the, hey, we got $1. Thank you, Rich. You figured it out. That's great. Yeah, go over to chuckholton.com. I just put up some video about that shows the combat that's going on in Gaza. If you did not see the YouTube that I just did for CBN, go over to CBN's YouTube channel and watch the video I just did over there that has a much broader update on what's going on in Gaza. The only thing I didn't talk about was this dock, and that's why I'm talking about that here. So Israeli children just got a new dive platform. Thank you, Joe Biden. Yeah, I think it may end up being something like that. So tomorrow I'm going to go down there and see what I can see, and I will try to bring you some news from on the ground when I do. So that's all I got for tonight. I'm going to go get some supper and get some sleep, and then I'll be out. Well, hey, I'll keep on going if Roger wants to keep sending money. If you have a question, put it up there. Carolyn says, so disappointed in Egypt. Well, they did not start a big war when they had the firefight with Egyptians the other day. So you got to hand it to them there. Go to the red heifer. Oh, here we go with the red heifer again. I knew somebody was going to bring up the red heifer. Thank you, Mark. You're the winner. All right, so that's all I've got. God bless you. If you have any questions, you want to email me or comments or anything, just send them to hotzoneholton@gmail.com. Again, hit that like button and subscribe. That does definitely help a lot in terms of getting the word out and growing the platform. So we should do that. How are rockets still being launched from Gaza? I keep asking that. I keep asking how they keep launching rockets from there. But, you know, they had these things buried all over the place. And the way that they would do that is they would bury them in the ground, already aimed at, don't even get me started on the red heifer, already aimed at Israel, which is not difficult. You just kind of aim it north or aim it east, and there you go. Buried in the ground, already aimed, have the firing system already set up, and then put boards over the top of the launchers and covered up with dirt. And then nobody's going to know it's there except you. And so these guys, they go out and they realize, oh, hey, we've got a launcher that's out there that hasn't been found yet. And so they sneak out there at night, they shovel the dirt off, they pull the wood up. Hey, Gunny's Adventure, thank you. I'll keep going as long as you guys are donating money. So they shovel the dirt off. They pull the boards off, expose the launcher, set the timer, run away. 30 minutes later, boom, 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 those things go off. What's crazy is that, no, they're not smuggling them in through Egypt, I don't think. But what's crazy is that they are choosing to shoot them off at the most inopportune times, almost like they're trying to prove Israel's point. So the International Court of Justice goes, Israel, you have to stop what you're doing in Rafah. You have to stop the genocide. We want a ceasefire in Rafah right now. And Israel says, but, and about that time, Hamas shoots off a bunch of rockets out of Rafah. And Israel just goes, they're shooting at us from there, so we're gonna keep shooting back. How about that? Thank you, PC. £4.99. I don't know how many dollars that is, but that's great. I'll take it. So yeah, I mean, it's almost as if Hamas either is too stupid to realize that if they just stopped shooting, that this war would be over sooner rather than later, or they know it and they don't want it to be over. That is a distinct possibility. I think, as I said in the last live, it is very, very likely that this is going to go on for a long time because it's now turned into an insurgency, not a traditional fight. And an insurgency, and especially if Israel takes advice from the United States, because the U.S. is so good at losing insurgencies lately, you know, Iraq and Afghanistan both, we sort of just, you know, threw away. We yanked defeat from the jaws of victory. And so if Israel doesn't listen to what the United States tells it to do and just keeps the pedal to the metal, they could actually win. Thank you, One Tired Mama. I will go get it. Well, I'm not eating steak right now, but I'll go get some falafel or something. So if they don't listen to the United States, and obviously don't listen to the ICJ, and they just keep doing what they're doing, there is a chance that they could finally exhaust Hamas's ability to fight back, because they would have destroyed or fired all of their ammunition. So all of Hamas's rockets, explosives, guns, bullets would have all been fired or found and destroyed by the IDF. And then they would be able to quit. But if they listen to the United States, I mean, you get it? The U.S. is coming in and going, hey, here's a great idea. Here's exactly what we did to lose the insurgency in Afghanistan and Iraq. That's what you should do. And Israel's going, but you lost. So why would we do that? And if I was Bibi Netanyahu, that would be what I would be saying every time Anthony Blinken came knocking. I'd be like, open the door and go, you lost in Afghanistan. Don't want to hear it. Click. And just close the door. When Biden calls, I'd be like, President Biden, we love you, but you lost. You pulled out. Look what you did in Afghanistan. We're not taking advice from you. Bye. Click. Thank you, Dwight. That's very kind of you. You guys are going to keep me going all night here, at the rate things are going. What else do you want to know? What else do you want to talk about? Here's something interesting. When I was in Cyprus, that big ship, that the U.S. Navy cargo container ship that was at port there, it actually used to have a different name, and they renamed it. And I was like, why would they rename it? Well, I'm not sure that this is exactly why, but while I was researching why they renamed this ship and renamed it, they're naming all the ships now like after heroes, Medal of Honor recipients, and there's quite a few. So, but they give the full name. So it's not the USNS Stockton, it's the USNS Gunny Sergeant Frank W. Stockton. But let's just go with Stockton for brevity. It used to be called something else up until 2008, I think, or something. They renamed it. But when I was researching that, I found out that if you recall, back during... There's a cat that's plotting my demise over there. Back during the Bush administration, after 9/11, actually this is about 2008 maybe. Thank you, Amy. There was a big scandal about what they called rendition. And I think they even made a movie about it. Thank you very much. Somebody just said, thank you, Ian. Very kind of you. There's a movie about this. They were taking prisoners that they took in Afghanistan. We're talking like terrorists that they captured. And they were taking them maybe from Guantanamo or directly from Afghanistan and sending them out to what they call black sites. Thank you, Bob. Very, very kind of you. They were sending them to these black sites and having other nations, not Americans, but other partner nations like Afghans, Poland, people in Czech Republic, stuff like that, having those guys interrogate the prisoners in ways that would not be acceptable for Americans to interrogate them. So Americans don't do torture. We're not allowed. It goes against our principles. But they decided that maybe some enhanced interrogation techniques could be used, like waterboarding and things like that. Now, I've been waterboarded, and I can tell you, it's definitely uncomfortable. It's no fun at all. And I would never want to do it again. But it's not going to permanently damage you. It's not ripping your fingernails out or your teeth out or cutting body parts off or filleting your skin or any of the, like permanent things. So maybe you could call that a fine line. I don't know. But without a doubt, the United States was sort of publicly against those kinds of enhanced interrogation techniques, but we felt like it would be effective to try to garner some information from some of our prisoners by performing these enhanced interrogation techniques on them. And so we sent them out to black sites, they called them. And as it turns out, the USNS Stockton that I just saw in Cyprus was one of the places that they claim was one of those black sites where they were keeping prisoners. And of course, they're probably not doing that now, but just interesting. And I can see why. I mean, the thing is like a floating city. It's ginormous. And who's going to look on a cargo ship for some terrorists that are getting waterboarded, whatever. Lucy, they told us once it was $150 to $200. Who waterboarded you and why? I went through a counter-kidnapping course. A steak dinner. Lucinda asked, how much does a steak dinner cost? Very expensive. There's a good steakhouse about 6 doors down this way. And I went down there one time right after the war started. It was right when all the restaurants were closed at the beginning when I first got here. And I was there. The only place that was open was the pizza places. Why Little Caesars is braver than everywhere else, I don't know why. Yeah, there is a steakhouse called the Red Heifer that's right there, but the one I'm talking about is called 1698 or something like that, and it's down that way. But anyway, so I was walking one day and I saw this. It looked like people going in there, and I was like, is that a restaurant? It just has a year above the door, and I was like, huh. So I walked in there and looked around. There's people sitting around. I said, is this a restaurant? And they said, yeah. And I said, oh, awesome. Can I have a menu? They said, sit down. So I sat down. They didn't bring me a menu. So the lady came in and she said, what would you like? I said, do you have steak? And she said, oh, yes, we have steak. I said, great, bring me a steak. And she brought me a 750 gram steak. Thank you, Chewy. I'm not sure what currency that is, but I appreciate it, and the little sticker too. A 750 gram steak is a pretty sizable steak. And yes, T. Logan, there literally is a restaurant right behind me, right behind that wall, that's called the Red Heifer. And it's always closed. I've never actually been able to eat there because it's always closed. But anyway, this place over here had a 750 gram steak. And I ate the entire thing and enjoyed it immensely. Had a glass of red wine, I think, with it. That was it. Glass of wine, 750-gram steak. And the bill came in, it was $196. And I was like, whoa, $196. So yeah, a cat running in front of you is bad luck. A cat running behind you is good luck. That's right. I like the way you think, Betsy Robertson. You're very smart. Yeah, we're not going to talk anymore about the red heifer. I'm not the red heifer guy. Get the meal from Barley Green Man. Yeah, the Barley Green guy was very generous, took us out to a very nice restaurant one time. And I don't know what that cost because I didn't see the bill, but it couldn't have been cheap because there were 20 people there. But he started Barley Green. He's got lots of money. So there you go. So yeah, I am going to get off of here and go find a restaurant to eat at. There's got to be some place still open. It's almost 9 o'clock though, so I better get going. But how about the price in Israel? Price of what? Of steak? This is Israel. I'm in Israel. I don't know what you mean by that. Yeah, the reason I can laugh at that bill is because Newsmax, the owner of Newsmax had just called me and he was like, hey, we really appreciate all the work you're doing for us. They said, go get a nice dinner and send us a bill. It's on us. And so I was like, $196 steak. There you go, Newsmax. And they paid it. So I didn't have to pay it. So I was very glad that he had just, he probably regretted it after he got the bill, but oh well. That's 1.65 pounds. Yes, that was a large steak. I thought you were still at your son's. No, I left my son's house a couple of days ago, went to, from Armenia to Athens, Athens to Cyprus, spent the night in Cyprus, and then left this morning and came to Jerusalem. So keep up, come on. I move around pretty fast. So yeah, I should be on Newsmax some of the coming days. And again, tomorrow going down to Ashkelon. So stay tuned, folks. And 7-pound steak, no thank you. I'll die. All right, love you guys. We'll see you later. Take care.